I don't know, Matt. Robots are taking over. I have to admit, though, they are very convenient when you want to get something quickly.
Definitely. They're talking about ordering on your app, on your phone. I mean, I do it for Starbucks.
Exactly. It's so easy.
It makes it easy, that's for sure. But today, don't do that. Take a walk down the street. Maybe get out this morning and go get your cup of coffee a little bit differently, because it is going to be a great morning. It's going to be a wonderful afternoon. Get outside and enjoy this Sunday as much as you can. Hopefully you got out and enjoyed yesterday too, because after the rain came through, it was a great Saturday for us. Check out our high temperatures from yesterday. 70s for lots of us, especially from Philly and back to the north and west. Mount Pocono only got to 68 yesterday afternoon. Again, a touch of fall for us on that Saturday. Now, we did see a couple 80s. Millville, Atlantic City at 80 and 82 yesterday afternoon, but overall, it was a very refreshing day for us. Take a look at what we're going to get today. Not a whole lot different. We're still looking at those temperatures to be in the 70s and 80s across the board for pretty much all of the Delaware Valley, back through the Lehigh Valley and into the Poconos too. So again, it's going to be another day where we have sunshine and slightly below average temperatures. Outside in Margate, it's a very tranquil scene. It's the waves crashing onto the shore. Not a whole lot of folks out there just yet, but it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful beach day for us. Get a look at that shore forecast for our Sunday. 75 to about 80 degrees. Out there on the beach, we'll be looking for mostly sunny skies. It's a water temperature of 75. Again, it continues to creep up. Now, the UV index, of course, with all that sunshine is very high. You always want to put that sunscreen on. But our rip current risk today is on the low side of things. That's good news. You always want to swim by the lifeguard, though. You always need to keep yourself safe out there, not just with the sunscreen, but when you're in the ocean as well. Our current setup, high pressure's in control. A few high wispy cirrus clouds are out there. These returns that we're seeing there on the radar, it's not actually coming down. It's just a little bit of overzealous radar activity there. Now out to our west, there's our low with our warm and cold front attached to it. That's the system that's going to be sliding into the region here as we go through the nighttime hours tonight and into our Monday. That gives us showers and thunderstorms for the beginning of our work week. So as we move into the start of the work week, this is about midnight tonight. So our low has now tracked a little bit further east. It's settled just in western Tennessee. You see our warm front extended itself now back down towards southern Virginia, and that eventually will slide northward. The low itself tracks just to the south of Philly as we go through the nighttime hours tonight and then into our Monday. So it looks like probably the heaviest precipitation is going to stay just to the south of the Philadelphia area. The cold front comes through then as we move through Monday night, and then high pressure starts to filter in as we get into Tuesday. So what we're seeing here, the showers are going to start this evening, probably around 3-4 o'clock in the morning, north and west of the city. It spreads into the Philadelphia area by the early morning hours around sunrise or so, with the heaviest precipitation, rain and thunderstorms coming tomorrow afternoon. And then again, that high pressure filters in for Tuesday, clearing us out for not just Tuesday, but into Wednesday and Thursday as well. So high temperature of 81 today. We go with the shower and thunderstorm activity for our Monday, a high of 78 degrees. And as I said, that high pressure clearing us out for the middle of the week there. Mid 80s Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Our next chance for rain, Jan, after that is going to be by Friday and Saturday. Yeah, looking pretty darn good. Thank you, Matt. Today, Matt, and an even better day ahead for our Sunday. Absolutely. If you wanted to do a picnic today, it's going to be a fantastic day for that. Get out, enjoy it, because we are going to see some showers as we get into the beginning of the work week. Let's not talk about that just yet. Let's talk about just how nice Saturday was and how wonderful today is going to be. Our eyewitness weather watchers, they're up early on this wonderful Sunday morning, talking to us about cool temperatures across the area. Let's start out a little bit north of the city. 55 degrees this morning. John's up in Percy. He's got that sunshine to go along with that cool 55. And what does he have to say? It's a nice crisp start to the day. Usually that's not an adjective that we use in August. That's something that we think about maybe in the fall. But again, a nice cool start to the day there. It's 59 degrees at Helen's house. She's up in just north of the city as well, with plenty of sunshine. It's a gorgeous morning, cool, dry, calm winds. She says you got to get outside, and I definitely don't disagree with her. And we'll go back down towards the shore. It's never a bad day when you can wake up looking at the beach. James in Ocean City, he's saying it's 64. A few extra clouds for him. 64 degrees, and this is August. Yes, it is still the beginning of August, but it feels just fantastic out there, folks. Our average high temperature for this time of year is 86. We're only going to get to 81 later this afternoon. So we are going to be below average. We haven't seen 90 degrees here in Philly since July 23rd. 3rd. It has been a while since we've seen 90, and this is actually the first time where we haven't had our average high temperature be 87 degrees since July 2nd. So we're kind of past that peak heating. Now, it doesn't mean that 90s aren't still possibly in the forecast for us. Our last day of 90s on average usually happens in the beginning of September. So we still have another month to go where we could still be looking for temperatures around 90, but they're just not going to be here this week. By the time we get to the beginning of September, as I said, we could still possibly see 90, but by the 6th of September, we're averaging a high of 81. And check this out, in October, 70 by October 6th for an average high temperature there. So if you're waking up down in Rehoboth this morning, folks already getting out and enjoying a wonderful, wonderful start to the day out on the beach there. It's just going to be a fantastic afternoon down the shore, mostly sunny. 75 to about 80 degrees out there on the sand, a light breeze out of the southwest, 75 degrees for that water temperature. So again, it's not feeling all that bad, but pretty close to our air temperature today. So it might feel a little bit cooler than it actually is. Of course, sunscreen a necessity with all that sunshine. Our UV index is high and swimming by the lifeguards, even though our rip current risk for today is a little bit lower. Our current setup out there's not too much going on across the Delaware Valley. Again, a big difference than 24 hours ago. The reason for this, high pressure is in control down just to our south. So we're going to see that eventually, though, slide off the coastline. And as it does, it allows an area of low pressure that right now is spiraling through the southern plains. That's eventually going to come eastward. It brings the warm front first and then the cold front, and then we'll see showers and thunderstorms throughout the day, it looks like, on our Monday. So again, not too much happening for us today. Here comes our system, though. Through the nighttime hours, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, we start to see showers out to our west and the far north. You see even by 5 o'clock, maybe some thunderstorms out near the Lancaster area. 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. So we're starting our drive even by 9 o'clock. Not a ton of precipitation maybe across Philadelphia itself, but still the surrounding areas to the north and west getting in on that rain and thunderstorm activity. It gets heavier through the afternoon. That's when we'll see the heavier downpours. By Tuesday morning and then Tuesday afternoon, though, we're already seeing some cleared conditions. So again, just some quick timing notes, 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning, north and west of the city for the rain. It comes down heavy at times throughout the day on Monday, and then the thunderstorms do end late Monday and into early Tuesday morning. 81 degrees for the high temperature today. We go with 78 with that thunderstorm activity tomorrow, and then 80s with sunshine Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday before another chance for a shower by Friday. Well, if you love watching the weather, you can be featured in our newscast by becoming an Eyewitness Weather Watcher. Sign up right now. Go philly.com/watchers.
It really is such a tale of two forecasts, such severe weather in Florida, but it's going to be beautiful this weekend here at home.
Wonderful across the Delaware Valley. It almost makes us feel bad
It does.
for having such nice weather because, again, our neighbors just down to the south are going to get slammed sooner rather than later, it looks like, unfortunately. So we just got our brand new advisory and our brand new information from the National Hurricane Center came in at 5 o'clock this morning, and Irma is now downgraded to a Category 4. Now, I say that it's downgraded to a Category 4, but barely. We're looking at sustained winds at this point of 155 miles an hour. A Category 5 hurricane, 157 mile an hour sustained winds is what you need to be a Category 5. So we are just barely below that threshold for Category 5 status. So even though, again, technically, yes, it is now a Category 4, still extremely dangerous, still very powerful, and for all intents and purposes, we can still consider this a Category 5 storm. Central pressure has gone up just a little bit. It's now sitting at 930 millibars. Usually when we see our central pressure go up, it's a sign of weakening, and that does make a little bit of sense because for the last couple of hours or so, Irma has been traveling right along the north coast of Cuba. So this is our infrared satellite image. It gives you an idea of how high the cloud tops are, how cold the tops of those clouds are. And when we have that bright red right there, very high, very cold cloud tops. So again, lots of convection going on, lots of shower and thunderstorm activity. And again, that eye wall now skirting again just to the north of the Cuba coastline there along the Cuba Keys. And this is going to be our path. We're going to continue to watch this track to the west, and then it will eventually start to make that northerly turn. Now, we're concerned about when and where it makes the turn, because if it continues westward, it will continue over land of Cuba, and then it will continue to weaken, and then it will make that turn to the north. Now, the water in between the Keys and Florida mainland and then Cuba, extremely warm. We're talking about temperatures in the mid 80s. So the Florida Straits, that could allow for some re-intensification. But if this storm starts to make that northerly turn before it really hits the mainland of Cuba, then we could start to see maybe even more rapid intensification. So why we're dealing with this kind of uncertainty, whether it goes west, when it takes that turn to the north, there's a huge, what we call Bermuda high sitting over the Atlantic Ocean. It's called the Bermuda high because, of course, Bermuda is sitting out here in the Atlantic as well. We have that clockwise flow around the high pressure center. And right now, this is a very strong area of high pressure, but it's going to start to weaken. There's a trough that's going to come off the east coast of the United States. It's going to start to break down that area of high pressure. And as that trough pushes that high back out into the open ocean, that's when we'll allow for that northerly turn to start to take over. So here's where our computer models do. They continue to take it just a little bit west, not so much along the mainland of Cuba, but it starts to bring it out there into the Florida Straits. So again, that 80-degree water, mid 80, almost 90-degree water between Key West and the Cuba mainland. And then we'll start to see that turn to the north. So Key West and then those mid Keys back towards the Naples area and then back up into Tampa as well. That's where we could start to see maybe that hurricane make that landfall onto the mainland of Florida. So this is the newest track from the National Hurricane Center, taking it towards Key West by tomorrow morning. So you can see here, even by tomorrow afternoon at about 2 o'clock or so, it's past the Keys. It's starting to move into the peninsula. And then you see by 2 o'clock in the morning on Monday, really starting to rapidly weaken up near the Tampa area. And then it continues off to the north and west, bringing with it lots and lots of rainfall to the Tennessee Valley. Watches and warnings. Everywhere that we see the red, that is our hurricane warning. It goes into effect yesterday and it will last all the way until Wednesday, it looks like. Here's our 7-day forecast. What's happening locally, just real quick. 71 today, 74 tomorrow. And then, Jan, we could get a few showers from what's left of Irma by next Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay, Matt, thank you very much. 519 now, pencil. And Matt, it'll be a pretty sight here at home, not so much down south in Florida.
Yeah, it's going to be wonderful across the Philadelphia area today and tomorrow. A wonderful fall weekend in store for us here in Philly. A unfortunate fall weekend for the folks down in the Florida Keys and along especially the south coast of Florida as we continue to track Irma as it now pushes towards the west and then eventually looking to make that turn to the north as we get through the daytime hours today, more along the lines of tonight into tomorrow when we start to see that northerly turn. So at 5 o'clock this morning, we just got our new update from the National Hurricane Center. It is technically downgraded now to a Category 4 storm, but it's still extremely powerful and barely, we're talking barely, a Category 4 storm coming in at 155 mile-an-hour winds. Category 5 storm, 157 mile-an-hour winds. So again, that 2 mile-an-hour difference basically negligible between 4 and 5. So all you need to know is this is an extremely powerful and extremely dangerous storm that continues to just churn through the Caribbean. Now, our infrared satellite image shows that the eye of the hurricane has actually started to fade out a little bit. It's not as well defined as it was. Now, it was still, even at the 5 a.m. update, over 30 miles in diameter. This is a huge storm. And again, that 30-mile wide eye, again, even though it's starting to look a little bit like it's fading, still traveling right along the northerly coast of Cuba, along the Cuban Keys. And it's still impacting with a great deal of heavy wind, lots of rain, storm surge just barreling along that north coast of Cuba. And then we're going to start to watch as we get through the daytime hours today and more again along the terms of tonight and into tomorrow. We start to see that turn to the north, and that's when it will start to eye in on the Florida Keys. And then eventually it looks like on the west coast of Florida from Tampa back through Fort Myers and then eventually down towards Marco Island and into Everglades National Park as well. Now, even though it is hitting and interacting with the land in Cuba, and that could potentially have some weakening effect on this, and it looks like it already has, again, now that we're down to 155 mile-an-hour winds, unfortunately, as Irma makes that turn into the Florida Straits, the area in between the Keys and the north coast of Cuba, we have sea surface temperatures there that are in the mid-80s and maybe even at times close to 90 degrees. And as it hits just that little bit of open ocean with warm temperatures, again, mid-80s to 90, for those sea surface temperatures, we could watch rapid re-intensification of this storm. So even if it does maybe weaken down to a Category 3, there is another chance for it to re-intensify back to a 4 or maybe even close to 5 status by the time it starts to make landfall. So 2 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, still forecasted to be 150 mile-an-hour winds, a Category 4 storm just to the south of Key West at 2 o'clock tomorrow morning. It crosses the Keys, gets towards the Fort Myers area as we get towards 2 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. Still a extremely strong and potent Category 4 storm. Up towards the Tampa area by 2 o'clock in the morning on Monday, forecasted to be Category 3 storm at that point with 120-mile-an-hour winds, and then it continues to rapidly weaken as it pushes off into the Tennessee Valley. Storm surge is really going to be one of the main concerns with this. That storm is going to come up the coastline. It's going to push all this water onto the land, and you see around Fort Myers there, we could be looking at 10+ feet of storm surge back from Marco Island all the way back down into the Everglades. Also another maxima there of maybe over 10 feet of storm surge. That's 10 feet of water getting pushed inland. And then you add on top of that local areas along South Florida and even along the east coast of Florida, over 20 inches of rain. So this is going to be a massive storm that is going to be dealt with for days on end. Tropical watches and warnings for us. That hurricane warning still in effect for South Florida, pushing now more up into even the northerly coast of Florida. 71 degrees for us here back stateside today, though. We're going with a 74 tomorrow, 78 a little bit warmer, Jan, on Monday, and then we could get a few showers, the remnants of Irma by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week.
All right, Matt, thank you.